A mysterious gate suddenly appears in Ginza, Tokyo, through which mythological creatures led by men in Roman armor emerge and attack the people. Youji Itami, a JSDF reservist who is attending a nearby doujin convention, helps organizing the police to evacuate the civilians to the imperial palace before the JSDF arrives to stop the invaders. For his actions, Itami is promoted to first lieutenant and celebrated as a national hero. The appearance of the gate and attack on Japanese civilians, dubbed the Ginza incident, prompts the incumbent prime minister to take action by proclaiming that Japan will send a JSDF task force backed by the US to the special region, the world beyond the gate, to not only explore the new world but also capture and demand reparations from those responsible for the attack. After 3 months of preparation, the new prime minister sends off the JSDF task force, including Itami, on their mission to the special region. Upon arriving, the task force encounters an army waiting for them, and prepares for battle. The army sent by the Empire to deal with the Japanese forces stationed at Alness Hill, where the gate is located, is easily obliterated by the JSDF's modern artillery. Emperor Molt calls for the armies of the Empire's vassal states to attack, only for them to be defeated with massive casualties as well, a move planned by the Emperor to prevent the vassal states from taking advantage of the Empire's depleted military. While Emperor Molt decides to delay a possible advance from the JSDF, Itami is assigned to lead the 3rd Recon Unit, created to survey the nearby cities and points of interest. After passing by the village of Kota, the 3rd Unit observes a massive fire dragon burning and destroying a settlement within the nearby forest. While looking for survivors, Itami finds an unconscious elf woman inside a well. Taking the elf with them, the 3rd Unit return to the village of Kota, and upon learning of the fire dragon, the villagers decide to evacuate, assisted by the Japanese soldiers. The group, now including all the villagers, are later joined by 2 mages, Loli La Lalania and her master Kato El Altestan. Hoping to take advantage of the situation, a group of bandits decide to attack the villagers, only to be slaughtered by Rory Mercury, an apostle of the dark god Emroy. While escorting the refugees, Itami's party encounter Rory, who decides to accompany them as well. However, the fire dragon appears and attacks the convoy, killing numerous villagers until the 3rd Unit blows off one of its front legs with an anti-tank rocket, forcing it to retreat. After the 3rd Unit parts ways with the villagers, Itami decides to take the remaining refugees, as well as Rory, the elf woman, and Loli, back to Alness Hill. The 3rd Recon Unit returns to Alness Hill, now converted into an advanced JSDF base, and Itami obtains authorization to provide shelter to the refugees. Meanwhile, Princess Pina accompanied Lotta from the Empire learns more about the JSDF's exploits and decides to investigate them personally. Back at Alness, the refugees get used to their new lives among the Japanese soldiers, but for some reason Tuka Luna Marceau, the elf girl, keeps requesting supplies not only for herself, but for another, unknown male not listed among the guests. Knowing that they cannot depend on the JSDF's charity forever, Loli points out that they can collect scales from the corpses of dragons killed by JSDF, which will fetch a good price in the local markets. Meanwhile, on the other side of the gate, the Japanese Diet requests Itami for an audience regarding the battle against the fire dragon. However, by the time the summons for Itami arrives, he has already left with Rory, Loli, Tuka and the rest of the 3rd Unit to trade the collected dragon scales at the city of Italica, where Pina and her knights are also headed in search of further information about the JSDF. Itami's party arrives at Italica, just as the city's forces, led by Princess Pina, repel an assault by an invading bandit force made up of deserters from the armies defeated at Alness. Knowing that her knights and the local militia lack the strength to keep holding off the bandits until help arrives, Pina finds herself in a predicament until she meets the 3rd Recon Unit. Upon being informed of the situation, Itami decides to help defend the city and agrees with Pina's plan of positioning himself and his soldiers on the least guarded side of the walls, the south gate, to act as a decoy. However, the enemy does not fall for their trap and launches an attack on the main force at the east gate instead. As the city's defenses are broken, the princess finds herself on the verge of despair. Rory, Itami and 2 of his subordinates, Akira Tomita and Shino Kuribayashi, head to Pina's location to help her men. Meanwhile, the JSDF sends a helicopter unit to assist the 3rd Recon Unit in defending Italica, which arrives just in time, blasting Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries from loudspeakers and annihilating the invaders with ease. After Loli sells the dragon scales and Itami has negotiated with Pinya and the Italicans for rather trivial compensation terms in exchange for their retaining their sovereignty, the 3rd Recon Unit departs back to Alness Hill, only to encounter Pinya's Order of the Rose Knights on their way. Upon discovering their identities as JSDF members, the Knights take Itami captive, unaware of the peace treaty he and Pinya just established. In order to avoid further conflict, Itami orders his unit to leave without him instead of fighting, leaving himself at the Knights' mercy. Back in Italica, Pinya reprimands her Knights Bozes and Panache for capturing Itami, fearing that the JSDF will use the incident as an excuse to retaliate for breaking the treaty. As the formal family staff treat Itami's wounds, Rory, Loli, Tuka and some of the 3rd Unit sneak back to Italica to rescue Itami, but find themselves welcomed by the formal maids and join Itami for a small socializing party. Meanwhile, Pinya orders Bozes to sleep with Itami in the hopes of earning his forgiveness, but Bozes becomes angry and assaults Itami after seeing him enjoying himself and seemingly ignoring her. Appalled that Bozes might have antagonized Itami further, Pinya and Bozes joined the 3rd Recon Unit's trip back to Alness Hill to personally apologize to Itami's superiors for Bozes' actions. While Pinya and Bozes meet with Itami's commanding officer Lieutenant General Hazama with Loli as an interpreter, Itami invites Tuka to come with him to Japan to meet the Japanese Diet as a representative of the special region. The next day, Itami, Shino and Akira accompany Rory, Loli, Tuka, Pinya and Bozes through the gate to Japan. Itami and his group arrive in Tokyo, where Pinya and the others' girls are awed by the city and its people. After meeting a public security agent by the name of Kamikado, Itami, Rory, Loli, and Tuka head to the Japanese Diet while Pinya and Bozes meet with members of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to discuss the details for the upcoming peace talks. At the Japanese Diet, Itami, Rory, Loli, and Tuka are questioned by the chairwoman of the investigation committee on the Fire Dragon attack, who accuses the JSDF of failing to protect the refugees killed by the Fire Dragon. Rory, Loli, and Tuka defend the JSDF, telling of how the Japanese soldiers helped save many lives from the monster. Afterwards, both Itami's and Pinya's groups reunite in the subway to escape from the press as well as a mysterious group which seems to be targeting the special region girls. Due to a mole leaking their itinerary, Itami makes a change of plans and brings the group to stay with his ex-wife. Itami explains everything to his ex-wife Risa, who agrees to help him by taking Rory, Loli and Tuka on a shopping trip the next day, while Akira accompanies Pinya and Bozes to the library after both of them take an interest in boys' love manga from Risa. Meanwhile, Itami meets with his old friend, Defense Minister Kano Taro, who instructs him to bring the special region guests to a hot spring and guarded by the Japanese SFG. As Itami's group stays at the inn for some relaxation, 3 different Black Ops teams enter the area and battle with the SFG. While the SFG identifies 2 of the Black Ops operatives as Americans, the Japanese Prime Minister is blackmailed by the US President, who wants the SFG to stop attacking his Black Ops team so they can take the special region guests with them. The Prime Minister orders Taro to tell his men to stand down, but not before revealing that he will be re-signing to void the President's leverage. As the 3 Ops teams head to the inn, Itami encounters a drunken and aroused Rory. Rory's attempts to seduce Itami are interrupted by a phone call from Taro. The US Black Ops team arrives at the inn, only to encounter the 2 rival teams from Russia and China, leading to a 3-way firefight which Rory soon joins, ending with everyone besides Rory dead. After taking a van from the Russians, Itami's group heads back to Ginza, but, worried that the foreign agents will attack again, Risa posts a message on the internet that the special region girls will be visiting the Ginza Memorial. As a result, a large crowd gathers at Ginza to meet the girls, hindering the foreign agents' plans to kidnap them. Public security is able to inconspicuously arrest all foreign agents on the scene, and after Shino publicizes the previous kidnapping attempts on live TV through her news reporter sister Nanami, the US, Chinese, and Russian leaders cancel the kidnapping operation. After saying goodbye to Risa and paying their respects at the Ginza Memorial, the special region girls return to the gate. Realizing the Empire's war with Japan will lead to its destruction, Pinya makes plans to head back to the capital to arrange peace talks between both sides. 5 months since the gate's opening, the Alness refugee camp has developed into a town and trading center for goods from Earth. At the imperial capital, Pinya introduces Koji Sugawara, the Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs' new ambassador to the empire, to Lord Cicero, one of the most important nobles within the empire's pro-war faction, and obtains his cooperation with the peace talks in exchange for the release of his nephew, who is currently in Japan's custody as a POW. Back in Alness, Tuka keeps wandering the city looking for her father and refusing to accept the fact that he is already dead. As Itami and his friends discuss their concern for Tuka in a tavern, Kurokawa claims that they must make her face the truth, but Itami objects, certain that they cannot be responsible for Tuka forever. Left alone with Rory, Itami keeps drinking with her until a dark elf woman by the name of Yao Hadushi appears and, mistaking Rory for a child, reprimands Itami for giving her alcohol. With her plans to spend the night with Itami ruined, an annoyed Rory mischievously plays along with the dark elf's misunderstanding, forcing Itami to flee. The elf is unaware that Itami was one of the men in green she was looking for, whom she wants to ask for aid for her people, who are attacked by the fire dragon. The next day, as she prepares to visit the JSDF's base at Alness, Itami heads towards the imperial capital. Yao's initial attempts to ask the JSDF for help fail, as most of the soldiers know little of the local language, and she is arrested by the military police after attacking several thugs who mistake her for a prostitute. Loli, having improved her magic thanks to Earth's advanced scientific knowledge, is called by the JSDF to serve as Yao's interpreter. After learning her story, General Hazama tells Yao that he cannot help her, as her home, Schwartz Forest, is located in the Elba Kingdom, which is outside the borders of the Empire. As the Japanese are currently in peace talks with the Empire, sending troops over their border would mean a declaration of war and reignite conflict. With Yao devastated at the news, some soldiers sympathize with her, and Lieutenant Akira Yanagita suggests that Yao should ask Itami for help. Elsewhere, Itami and his men deliver goods from Earth to Pina in Hamilton, as part of their plan to win over more nobles to seek peace with Japan. Before leaving, Itami gives Pina a yaoi doujin translated by Boses and Panache, which, unknown to him, contains newspaper clippings of his previous heroic actions. As Itami heads back to base hoping to achieve peace between both sides, Loli narrates that the war is far from over.
Year 687 on the imperial calendar. The year that brought the Empire war and destruction.